Yes, it has arrived. This means that I've got to get on with fitting this floor pan. Oh my god, where do I start? Collected it this morning and there it is in all its glory, a complete floor pan for a Mini Clubman Estate. What have we got? Well, as I say, a complete pan that includes heel board at the back, tunnel, structural cross member halfway down, sills, all the way up to the toe board. Part number, as you've seen, is CZH2672 and it's original heritage equipment, which means that it was pressed with original dies that originally made the original Mini. But as I've read and heard and watched so many people say, it does not mean it's going to be any good necessarily. Do not expect to fit one of these sort of like as a straight swap, if you like to call it that. This is going to take a little bit of fettling to get it to fit. If you're going to do one of these, the only people that I know do this are Heritage themselves and a company called M-Machine up in the northeast of the UK. Both are equally as good as the other, I am led to believe. I have Heritage panels and I have also M-Machine panels. I have already fitted some M-Machine panels to this car and they fitted perfectly fine. They are as good as Heritage. If you're going to do one yourself, you need to know that this may not be the right floor pan for the year of your car. If you are that picky about concourse restoration and it being absolutely 100% bang on, period correct for the year, you need to double check what you're buying. I actually don't mind whether this is a Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, Mark 25. I'm not bothered. I'm happy that it's a nice, solid, good, complete floor pan that hasn't got any of my bad welding on it, and it's going to be structurally good. It's going to, I'm going to have peace of mind when Isaac is driving it, as much as you can with one of these, and I know that it's going to work for us. For you, however, if you want a period correct 1969, 1970 floor pan for a Clubman Estate, I think you might struggle. Clearly they make these based on demand. If enough people want a Mark 1, they'll make a Mark 1, but I doubt, or whatever it is you want, if you've got a normal Mini, you know, like not an Estate, you need to double check is what I'm saying. You check what you're buying before. You buyer beware as with everything else, okay? As I say, I'm not worried that this may or may not be period correct for the car, and I've already noticed one difference, and that is that bracket at the back. This bracket here, is not the same as what I've got in our car. What I've got in our car is this bracket here, which is totally different, which I think supports the rear seat.
but that bracket there is different. It's a slant. It's not got holes in it that look like they're going to fit anything to do with our seats, so I'm not entirely sure. So if anybody knows about that, let me know. Also, there's a flare here as well on this this flange that comes off the heel board, and I don't know what that does either. So that's different. As I say, everything else is where it should be. The brackets for the handbrake are everywhere are correct, and there's various holes in the floor which will have plastic plugs in, which are all fine. And yeah, I think that's all good. The sills look like they're straight and square. They've got the reinforcements in. They've got the jacking points in. We've got what I suspect would be seatbelt mounts just there. That looks good. And again here we've got something here as well. It's a couple of screw holes. Not sure what they're for. Oh, that would be seatbelt mounts as well, because that, yeah, obviously that's for the clasp, isn't it? So that's what they're for. So they're all intact and in place as they should be. The other thing to note on this particular floor pan is because it's for an estate, it's got an extension on it, and that's this part here. So the estate is slightly longer than the normal Mini. And if you look inside the car, there is the extension of the floor pan. So this, whereas the standard floor pan comes up to here, and then to accommodate the extra length of the estate body, there's an extension on the floor pan which is part of this. So that's good. You can buy that separately if you wanted to, by the way. So if that's rotted out on your car and nothing else, which is unlikely, but if it was just that, then you could just buy that extension piece. But it comes with this floor, okay, under that part number of CZH2672. So that's all good. Now, what about quality? So far, what I can tell in terms of how many welds we've got is we've got tons of welds. So I'm happy that we've got tons of welds, because that means that it's as strong as it can be. Presumably, if the pressings are from original dies, then everything, they must have the original drawings. So presumably the welds that they put in would be in the same places that the welds were put in when the car was new. I'm only guessing at that, but I would imagine that that's what they would certainly attempt to achieve, I would hope. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's turn it over and see what we've got on the other side. So on the bottom of it, we've got lots of tabs, some of which are missing on my car because they were rotted away. We've got tabs for fuel pipes, brake lines, all added in. Whether they're in the right place, I'm not going to know until I find out. We've got this part here, can't remember what that's for, but both sides on my car, on this car, were rotted away. That's all gone, but we've got them here. Here are all the sort of drain holes that we've got. They're all plugged up with, you know, plastic bungs and things like that. At the back here, we've got similar sort of plate on each side. Not sure what that is. Maybe Mini people will be able to tell me what they're for. Don't 100% know. The sills themselves, we've got them, they're spot welded as separate pieces, which is the part that always goes on the Minis. Everybody will know that, that's doing these things. And I'm led to believe that it's these little flutes here, these drain holes, these flutes there. I think they vary, the number of flutes vary with the age of the car. So that's what I'm saying about whether you want a period correct, 100% proper, right one for your year of car. I think as the years went by, they increased the number of drain holes because they probably realised that the thing became a swimming pool pretty quickly because the water couldn't get away, which is why they rotted so much. So they added some extra holes, and then those holes probably allowed even more water to get in, and salt and all the other stuff that came off the road. So, you know, they were on a hiding to nothing really. But remember, you know, these cars were never built to last. They were built for a reason. They were built to sell, to get people to move from A to B. They didn't really envisage anybody trying to restore these things 20, 30, 40 years later. But luckily there are companies like Heritage and M-Machine that provide pieces such as this, which allow people to restore their cars and get them back on the road, which is exactly what we're trying to do. As far as quality goes, well, we can only guess what state the steel is. Is it British steel? Don't know. What does that mean anymore? Is it Chinese steel? Don't know. Is it going to be as good as the original? Don't know. It's the same thickness, 1.2 millimeter, which is about 18 gauge. So, you know, we've got the same, in theory, same structural integrity in terms of the material that they're using, which is very good. So we know that's okay. Just measured that. Happy with what we've got here. We've got no choice really. We have to go with what we can purchase. If people make it, they make it. If they don't, well, you're knackered, aren't you really? Quality of the welds, well, most of it's spot welded, as you can probably tell. There are some MIG welds that have been put in various places. There's one down there on that corner of that heel board flange there. We've got some spot welds and welds along the extension board as well. We've got some welds over the tunnel, just sort of MIG welds that are over the tunnel, but most of it's spot welded. There's a rail up here, which I'm not sure I've got on my car, actually. Probably need to double check that, but I think that's possibly for the fuel pipe. That might protect fuel pipes. Can't remember now when we took it apart what was running where. It will all become clear when we get there, I'm sure. But all in all, I'm happy with what we've got, and yeah. How much did it cost? Well, this was £825, including VAT. Didn't have any carriage because I went and collected it myself. And it took about 8 weeks to get here. I ordered it before Christmas, so factor in Christmas. You're probably looking 6 to 8 weeks if you're going to buy one for yourself. And as expected, it turned up as they promised. And here it is. One other thing to note is this one is obviously painted. Everything that comes from Heritage is painted in this black semi-gloss paint. Presumably it's primer. I don't actually know what it's painted in. It's not very thick, because if I go to this area here where we've got some welds and some spatter there, it actually looks like there might be a bit of rust, but I think that's just discoloration of the weld actually rather than rust. I'm hoping it's not rust. But I'm going to have to give that a bit of a going over with a wire wheel and maybe put some etch primer on there. If you buy from M Machine, be aware that they come bare metal. Every panel I've had so far from M Machine, and that is quite a few, the original half floors that I bought were M Machine, and I wasn't prepared for that. And they turned up and they were completely bare. It was in winter time, so I had to spend a whole day basically with the heating on in the garage, prepping the steel and getting the oil off and any lubricant from the die, get all of that off, and I had to then sort of spray everything over with etch primer just to keep the rust off, because I wasn't ready to actually get set going with the job at the time. So all of those panels that I've still got are now stored, but they're all stored with etch primer now, so they can't rust. So be aware, if you're going to buy from M Machine, be aware that it will probably come bare steel, and this is a big panel. You're going to be spending a lot of time trying to get this primed if you're not careful. The edges will all need to be seam sealed, of course. Nothing else is done to it. It's just primed to keep the rust at bay. And of course the other downside of it being painted is we don't know what it's painted in or with, and what that will react with any other paint or any other coating that gets put on it, you know, when we actually come to paint this thing. So I'm not prepared to take any of this paint off, or not to any great extent. So I'm going to have to basically go with what we've got, and hopefully anything that we put on does not react with the paint that we use, or doesn't react with the paint that's on this floor pan. Now, because it's on the floor, it's not going to really matter. It's not going to be the bodywork, it's not going to be the outer bodywork that we're going to see. And all the panels I've got for the outer bodywork, I think apart from the front wings, are all M Machine. So we'll deal with what we have to do as we get along. But if the paint reacts, it reacts. But it may be something that you want to be aware of, just to make sure that you don't have that problem. I'm not too worried about the paintwork side of things right now, especially with the floor. It's just a floor. It will get roughed up, it will get covered in etch primer or whatever the stuff that we need to use. I'll research that and hopefully get it right, and we will go with what we've got. Just a small update on where we are with the doors. Last episode I fitted the 2 doors to get an idea where the door steps actually sit. Passenger side is already welded in. Driver side yet to do, as you know. And I observed that the passenger side, the door needs to go up. It seems to be fairly square in the hole if I measure it, especially along the top roof rail and the roof line. The gap there is about 8mm all the way along. If I compare that to the driver's side, we've got a gap of about 4mm, 4 or 5mm, and again that's fairly square in the hole as well. There's a little bit, it's a bit high at the back on the driver's side, but at the moment, because the doorstep's not there, that's not much to go on at the moment. And I had a comment from Becco1969, who quite rightly pointed out that the swage line of the door along here does not meet the swage line on the rear panel. And I've measured the difference between the two, and it's about 4mm. The difference in height of the rail on this side is 8mm against 4mm on the driver's side, so that would sort of tally up. Plus as well, I think we've got it, it's more or less square, but I think with a little bit of fiddling around with shims and getting the holes correct, I think we're going to be okay. I don't know if anything's been done in the past with new door skins. This is going to have new door skins because it's pretty rotten along the bottom. I'm hoping the frame inside is okay. I think they're fairly solid. It's just the skin, which is pretty standard. So we're going to have to do that at some point. But of course I want to get it so it's correct. So I think with a bit of fettling, I think it's going to work out okay. And if you actually look on the driver's side, the swage line is actually higher this side, so it's high here and low there. But when you shut it, it's actually, you have to raise it up to actually get it to lock. So again, adjustment may be required. So when I'm doing the doorstep on this side, I'm going to pay attention to that. The only thing I would say is that the hinge panels, the hinge posts themselves, the actual A post, hasn't been changed. So, you know, the holes are exactly where they were when we took the doors off on both sides. And this isn't going to change this side because I'm only going to replace the bottom part of the A post where it's completely rotten. I've got a new A post, a complete one, top to bottom, but I'm not going to take the whole thing out. I'm just going to replace the bottom half of it. So the doors are going to go back exactly the same place as when they came off. And we'll just fiddle around with shims and elongated holes as required, I would expect. So that's a little update on the doors anyway. So thank you for your comments on that. Really appreciated, because I actually didn't think about that. I know when people go and look at cars, they look down the sides of cars and they check body lines and they check gaps. Again, it's just another thing that I've learned. It's a clear, it's a clear indicator that things aren't straight if your lines don't line up. And that doesn't just mean gaps, that also means any body lines that you've actually got in the body panels themselves. So good point, and thank you for your comment, much appreciated. And I hope you're getting on well with yours. I hope you're inspired by my one, maybe. So there we have it. Floor pan is here. It's the middle of February. I have got a few days coming up where I can make efforts to get close to getting this fitted, or even get the old one cut out. The frame is all braced in there. I've got to fix the subframe in place. If you remember from the second video that I did, I talked about fixing the rear subframe into position so that it doesn't move, and then I can get the heel board in the right place and everything fixed to that. We're bolted up, so I'm going to get on with that at some point very soon. And get the old floor cut out. I've got to do that doorstep yet, so that's one thing that needs to be done very soon. And that'll probably be my next episode, is getting that doorstep done. So if you like what you see and you want to keep up with what's happening with our little project here, little meaning big, then please subscribe to our channel. It's free, it helps our algorithm, gets us out there, gets people seeing what we're doing, gets us people interested. And if I can help anybody doing one of these themselves that's never done anything like this, join the club, because I'm in the same boat. I don't do this stuff as a rule, so I'm learning loads. Any help, advice and tips, all gratefully received. If you like the video, please put a like on and share with your friends. Till next time, take care and bye for now.